If I had words to make a day for you, I'd give you a morning, golden and true. I wouldn't make this day last for all time, and then fill the night deep in moonshine. So October 19th. October 19th is when the Battle of Yorktown was won. 1781, October 19th, America wins the Battle of Yorktown and becomes America. We defeated the Redcoats, and I've heard these historians say, my God, this is one of the most important days for all the Americans out there. Yeah, right. I guarantee you, most people have no fucking clue what happened on October 19th, 1781. 10 years after 1781, the military victory of the U.S. Revolution, we're going to get ourselves a Bill of Rights. 10 years later, at least we got ourselves one revolutionary gain to come from the Revolutionary War. 10 years later. So hip, hip, hooray. Hip, hip, hooray. We won one revolutionary gain 10 years after the military victory. So we're going to begin our revolution July 4th, 1776. Well, technically it was July 2nd, 1776. So we're going to start the revolution. We're declaring our independence July 2nd, 1776. Teachers at the Teacher Training Center in Spalding University didn't know shit about July 4th. And then you had a short 5 years later, after running around the forest like Marion Francis, the swamp rat, the swamp fox, freezing to death at Valley Forge. 2,000 died at Valley Forge out of 10,000. That's 1 out of 5. 1 out of 5 Americans froze to death, died, starved to death, died of disease, sitting around in Valley Forge. Americans for 5 years were essentially just running around and hiding, attacking the rear, attacking the flanks of the British regulars, i.e. being insurgent guerrilla warriors, guerrilla warfare, insurgent fighters, just waiting for one main critical and major battle to win. And finally, on October 10th, 1781, no, October 19th. I said it was October 10th and nobody corrected it. October 10th, we had attacked a house that we thought Cornwallis was in, but then he's still running around doing some more shit. October 19th is when Cornwallis is going to capitulate, but he's not even there to give the sword up. He was too damn humiliated. And then the Articles of Surrender is actually kind of ridiculous. It was more specific and more lengthy than the Constitution or the Articles of Confederation or the Bill of Rights. The one revolutionary gain we had actually won 10 years after the military victory. So, hip, hip, hooray. This is such a great day, October 19th, 1781. A day that will go down in infamy. I guarantee you, if we loved ourselves and loved this country, we would celebrate this day for generations. I heard one guy, fucking Arthur, the president, Arthur, he made us fucking worship, salute the damn British flag on this day. There is a goddamn monument down there. This is such a big day because did America have the willpower? Did America have the military strength in order to conquer the premier empire of the world at this time? For 5 years, we're the guerrilla fighters, just waiting for one main critical battle to win. A decisive blow. And then finally on October 19th, 1781, we got that decisive victory. It finally happened. America was victorious at Yorktown after running around the damn woods, after freezing to death in Valley Forge. The decisive blow that would force George III to capitulate and give America to us, give America to the Americans. They're going to keep Canada, but they're going to let Americans take America. So they're like, fuck it, you can keep your motherfucking Georgia. We're going to keep Ottawa and Montreal, and whatever the hell else is up there. The U.S. Revolutionary War began terribly. It looked like the British ships, the British Armada, was going to land in Boston, Massachusetts. But after Americans had fortified Boston, the British ships, all of London is afloat. And it went to New York City, formerly New Amsterdam. New Amsterdam. So, should we invade Boston? No, let's go after New York City. Why? Well, look at the fortifications. So they go to New York City. George Washington is at New York City. And we're going to lose New York City because they actually disembarked. They actually got off the ships and they invaded. And then once all of London was afloat, the 34,000 British troops went ahead and invaded, taking on 6,000 Americans. 34,000 versus 6,000. That wasn't even a fair fight. So August 27th, 1776, we just declared our independence a month ago. And now we're going to get our asses kicked in New York City. We're going to get our asses kicked. We're going to lose New York City from the very beginning. And that was a stunning and resounding and decisive defeat. So the British are going to invade New York City. The British are going to take Long Island, Brooklyn Heights. They're going to take Manhattan and Staten Island. The British are going to beat the Americans and steal our Guan Heights. George Washington is on the run. He is freaking the fuck out. American soldiers are just throwing their guns down on the ground and they're running the fuck away. Fuck this shit. You want me, 6,000 of us, to take 34,000? I mean, that's what? 1 out of 6? 1 to 6 ratio? Hey, guy, can you beat those 6 guys up over there? Hey, you 6,000, can you go beat them 34,000? George Washington was losing his fucking mind because it's like, we practice this shit. You're supposed to stand tall and fight tied to your post. Just like Alexander the Great when he invaded Gaza. That's how much they fought. They were getting their freedom. Just like the French revolutionaries when they fought under Napoleon. Because it was a nationalist battle. They should have been right there on the front lines, happy to die for their country. George Washington's running out to the front, running to the back. Get back in line, you. Get back in line. And he's freaking the fuck out because the line's been broken. The line has been broken. And then eventually one of his officers is like, come on, George, we got to do something different. This isn't working. American soldiers just threw down their guns. Fuck this shit. And then ran away, hoping to blend in with the civilian population. George Washington lost his mind, tried to get the American troops to stand tall and strong, to confront the British directly. He was riding his horse to the front lines, to the back, to the front lines, like a fucking crazy man. Doing his best to keep the line strong. But eventually George Washington is going to come to his senses and he's going to run away. He turns tail and he runs away. The British army tries to capture him, following him and his army everywhere. And they almost had him so many times. The British army almost had him. Howe remained inactive for the next half month, not attacking until September 15th when he landed a force at Kips Bay. So they took Brooklyn Heights and Manhattan and Staten Island, Guan Heights. Now they're taking Kips Bay. And then they're going to take, some other shit, the White Plains. And they're going to take Fort Washington. So they're going to keep on getting victory after victory after victory. The British quickly occupied the city at Kips Bay. And although American troops delivered an unexpected check, a check as in a victory, but we're like, hey, you better watch yourself at Harlem Heights. So Harlem Heights at mid-September, we're going to take that as a victory. We stopped them momentarily at Harlem Heights. But then Howe defeated Washington in battle again at White Plains, then at Fort Washington. And because of these defeats, Washington and the army retreated across New Jersey and into Pennsylvania. On September 21st, a fire of uncertain origin destroyed a quarter of New York City. In the immediate aftermath of the fire, Nathan Hale was executed for spying. And of course, Nathan Hale's last words are probably the coldest ever written in English. My only regret is that I have but one life to give for my country. That's my only regret, that I only have one life to give for my country. If the Royal Navy is included, over 40,000 men took part in the battle for New York City. Howe reported his losses as 59 killed, 268 wounded, 31 missing. The Hessian casualties were 5 killed, 26 wounded. The Americans suffered much heavier losses. About 300 had been killed and over 1,000 captured. And as few as half of the prisoners survived. So most of the prisoners of war, they took hostages. At Fort Washington, most of those prisoners from Fort Washington are going to die slowly as British prisoners of war. They're not going to take care of the Americans at all. No, we're not going to take care of you. So 300 had been killed and over 1,000 captured, but most of those 1,000 captured at least are going to die later on. So you got, what, 500, 800? So you had 800 that were killed versus 59 killed, 64? That's such a fucking ass kicking, it's not even funny. They were kept on prison ships, Americans from Fort Washington. That guy didn't have to give up the fucking fight. They didn't have to give up the fight. But when Fort Washington went down, because named after George Washington, they put so much time and money and effort. George Washington turns tail. Nope, we're going to fucking leave that too. They were kept on prison ships in Wallabout Bay, then transferred to locations such as the Middle Dutch Church. Americans were starved and denied medical attention by the British. In our weakened condition, many succumbed to smallpox. Historians believe that as many as 256 soldiers of the 1st Maryland Regiment under Colonel William Smallwood fell in the battle. About 2/3 of the regiment. It is known that they were buried in a mass grave, but the grave's exact location has been a mystery for 240 years. Eventually, George Washington took some Hessians at Trenton. He famously crossed the Delaware River on Christmas 1776. So he got his ass kicked at Kips Bay, got his ass kicked at Fort Washington, the White Plains, lost Brooklyn, lost Manhattan and Staten Island, lost New York City. But famously, he's going to cross the Delaware River on Christmas Day, 1776. We just declared the damn revolution and we're getting our asses kicked. It's like, well, shit, is the American experiment already over? It took 5 months for America to exist and now it's over. But no, George Washington kept on. He sallied forth against the pestiferous. He sallied forth. Washington took Princeton right after he takes Trenton. We only held Trenton for a second. But that was give some morale boost to the Americans. Well, we took Trenton, but British is going to take Trenton over a week later. They found Thomas Paine pamphlets all over the place. Who the hell is this damn Thomas Paine sitting there talking all this shit? Then we're going to take Princeton. That helps with morale. Congress says, okay, maybe we can win this. Maybe we should keep financing George Washington and his outfit. A lot of people are saying we need to get rid of Washington. We need to get rid of him. He keeps losing. He's not doing what he's supposed to do. We almost lost the revolution in the first months, in the first battle, in the first year of the Revolutionary War. In Valley Forge, the idea was that as long as we maintained an army, and that army was still alive and well, then the revolution was still on like Donkey Kong. But American troops had no food, no water. Morale was low. American troops foraged off the locals, stealing food from the farmers, maybe even quartering with them. If they were smart, lots of American troops froze to death, starved to death, died of disease. 1 out of 5. 1 out of 5 Americans are going to die at Valley Forge. You had 10,000 at least there. And 2,000 at least are going to die at Valley Forge. Could you imagine sitting at base camp and just seeing 2,000 of your countrymen freeze to death, starve to death, die of disease? So what's the overall strategy for America? Because we're not winning pitched battles. We're not conquering the British, but we're still sally forth and on. We're still carrying on against the pestiferous. The overall strategy of America's war is that we were going to maintain a regular army and stay alive. And that's it. and we're going to try to outlast the British. Stay alive. This is our country. We're here in our own damn backyard. The British has to occupy America, which costs money, costs treasure, costs blood. It's expensive. And it's going to take a long time for British to be able to just hammer down and keep their colony. Each death meant one last soldier for Britain that had to be replaced by somebody else in Europe, or another Hessian, or another Briton, or another Ansbach. Don't tell me you don't know about the Ansbach. Read the articles of capitulation. There's like 20 fucking articles of capitulation. It's like they wrote the shit up before they capitulated. An Ansbachian. Don't tell me you don't know about no Ansbachian. Slowly but surely, Americans were going to be guerrilla warriors. And we're going to try to bleed the British redcoats dry. And for 5 years, that's what Americans did. Hoping to maybe, just one day, one major fight. Fight the one critical and major battle, a decisive battle. To smash the British to pieces, a decisive battle. To show the British that Americans could fight the British troops well and forcefully. One decisive battle. But in the meantime, just survival was key. Picking off whatever redcoats had wandered off. Wading the swamps with Francis Marion, the swamp foxes. And then finally, 5 years later, October 19th, 1781 is going to happen. George Washington gets Lord Cornwallis to surrender at Yorktown, Virginia. How he did it was this. One army was tailing Cornwallis. Not big enough to take him. This is Lafayette, but to keep him close. Lafayette kept his friends close, but he kept his enemies closer. Lafayette was right up Cornwallis's ass. Another army, George Washington's, came from New York. So we had one that came. You had one army that was there in Virginia. One army that was up in New York, marched down to Virginia. And then you had the French ship, the French fleet that was in the Atlantic Ocean. And that created a complete encirclement of the main British army in America. They couldn't leave by boat because the French had blocked them in at Yorktown. And then George Washington cornered them one way, Lafayette cornered them another. Hamilton was there too. And because of Washington and Lafayette and Hamilton, we beat the fucking bastards. We smashed the British in the dust. We ate them for fucking breakfast and we shitted them out because of the encirclement. He had nowhere to go. He had no reinforcements. What was he supposed to do? Now he fucking gave up. When we won our revolution, things have been perfect ever since. We support all the revolutionaries around the world. We're still revolutionaries today. We wouldn't become like the British Empire. We're not going to just have a bunch of fucking military bases all over the place, massacring and fucking slaughtering 200,000 in Gaza, 1 million in Iraq, and 4 million in Vietnam. No, that's not who America is. We back the revolutionaries. We back the good guys. We're not a bunch of evil, wicked, Nazi stormtrooper piles of shit. We're the good guys. Right, guys? Like Luke Skywalker. That's who we are, right, Americans? We're all a bunch of Luke Skywalkers, right? The Marquis de Lafayette was at Yorktown, tailing Cornwallis, watching his movements. George Washington was in New York, stalemated with Henry Clinton. Meanwhile, Cornwallis had put himself in a vulnerable position. Cornwallis had won the Carolinas. And instead of just keeping what he had earned, he wanted more. Just like an American woman, Cornwallis just couldn't be satisfied. He was naggy, insecure, hard to please. He just wanted too much. And so Cornwallis took too much. There was a French naval fleet in the West Indies. George Washington wanted that French fleet, ran by Francois Joseph Paul, the Comte de Grasse, the Marquis of Grasse-Tilly. Just the Comte de Grasse. Francois Joseph Paul. So the French fleet, that's the French ships, the Comte de Grasse, he was hanging out in the West Indies. I want to say over there in Haiti. And then he came up and then helped protect us at Yorktown. The Comte de Grasse, he was a French Navy officer and nobleman, best known for his strategic, decisive victory over the British, while in command of the French fleet at the Battle of the Chesapeake Bay, 1781. in the last year of the American Revolutionary War, and because he was victorious at the Battle of the Chesapeake Bay in 1781, that directly led to the Franco-American victory at the Siege of Yorktown and helped secure the independence of the United States. The Siege of Yorktown is going to be a 3-week siege. This siege is worse than that one siege in the Native Americans against Boonesboro. How long did that siege last? Oh no, we're under siege. The Waco siege, how long was that? Well, that was like 3 weeks too, right? So this is like a Waco siege. Only we're sieging on the British. And we're going to get our independence and we're going to be Americans that day. Before it was like, maybe they could do America. After the Battle of Yorktown, it's like, we are fucking America. We fucking won. And then they're going to eventually sue for peace. And then another thing. And then the Articles of Confederation, Shays Rebellion. Bing, bam, boom. Now we got the Constitution. Now we got a Bill of Rights. And now we get to just talk a bunch of shit on the internet as much as we like. The Comte de Rochambeau is the one who convinced George Washington to give up New York. He wanted to take Henry Clinton on. Now let's just take him on, and he wanted to get the Comte de Gracie up to New York City so he could conquer Henry Clinton. To take Cornwallis and Yorktown, Virginia, so we should thank the Comte de Rochambeau. You had the de Rochambeau, you had de Gracie. Without the French, America, we would not have won our independence. We wouldn't have won the Battle of Yorktown. That's why we're so supportive of France and when they had their revolution, right? Remember how we supported France's revolution? Oh, we just let them die by themselves while all of Europe attacked them? Well, shit, no wonder the French Revolution didn't turn out so fucking great. Maybe they were like, hey, the Americans just had a revolution. Surely they'll defend us in our revolution. And we're like, nope, that's like an Atlantic Ocean. We don't really want to go all the way over there. We did not support the French Revolution. We turned our fucking backs on them. Thomas Jefferson is going to resign his seat over it, but Washington and motherfucking Hamilton, well, that's when we became conservatives, right? The day after the revolution is when every revolutionary becomes a conservative. The day after the revolution has been won. So we didn't support the French Revolution. Jesus fucking Christ. Jesus motherfucking Christ. De Gracie, the Comte de Gracie, responded to George Washington and Comte de Rochambeau's expedition particulier when they appealed for his aid in 1781, setting sail with 30 ships and 3,000 troops from Saint Domingue, today Haiti, Dominican Republic, where the French Caribbean fleet was based. So de Gracie was down there hanging out in Haiti, and they said, hey, come help us. All the way up in New York, he says, no, I'll do you one better. I'll meet you halfway at Yorktown. Fine, well, let's go to Yorktown. And then the ships in Britain, they went to Yorktown too fast. Where the hell is this French fleet at? The French fleet was taking the long way around. They didn't see it, and they said, well, shit, maybe they went to New York. Maybe they just passed us by. Let's get back up to New York. They went back up to New York, and then bam, there they are at Yorktown. De Gracie, the Comte de Gracie, had 30 ships and 3,000 soldiers under his command. That ensured independence of the new United States of America. Thank you, the Comte de Gracie. We smashed Charles Cornwallis. We beat them at the Battle of the Chesapeake Bay, and then we sieged on Yorktown. De Gracie had 30 ships and 3,000 soldiers under his command, and he's going to make sure we become Americans. The whole country of America has France to thank for it. The victory of the battle for Chesapeake Bay gave Americans control of the sea at Yorktown, specifically the York River. We took the York River over. They couldn't leave. Cornwallis was encircled. George Washington up at the top. Lafayette over at the side. And then redoubt number 10. You had Hamilton fucking singing his little lullaby. And then you had the Comte de Gracie at the sea. They didn't have no goddamn, the British Navy, we found a hole in the British Navy, and Cornwallis couldn't fucking escape. So hey, motherfucker, you better goddamn surrender, you better concede, you better capitulate, motherfucker. And then eventually they do. They give up. The siege of Yorktown was 9,000 British redcoats versus 20,000. So still not like goddamn the Battle of New York City. George Washington wanted 6,000 Americans to take on 34,000. But here's 20,000 Americans taking on 9,000. 20,000 versus 9,000. The 20,000 won. The siege of Yorktown lasted for 3 weeks, and there was only 35 American casualties. So it's like, we just switched. We just turned these tables around. Our bayonets are stronger. And the poor British soldiers just got issued their brand new uniforms. And maybe that was it. They didn't want to get their fucking clothes dirty. Oh, you don't want to get your clothes dirty? Who the fuck would want to fight for empire and oppression anyways? The more that they attacked us in America, the more pissed off that we got. It was like we were the Vietnamese fighting the imperialists. Not only was our cause just and right, it was moral. So could we win militarily? Maybe, maybe not. But we said, this is our country. We were born here. And we're not going to be oppressed by some tiny little island all the fucking way across the Pacific. The British didn't want to get their clothes dirty. When George Washington withdrew from New York to go to the Yorktown, Virginia, he pretended like he was going to attack Henry Clinton. But instead he fled. He ran away with the bulk of his army to go to Virginia. Henry Clinton wouldn't know that George Washington had left until September 22nd, 1781. George Washington had a residual army poised like they were going to attack. It was brilliant. He pretended that they were going to attack Henry Clinton up in New York. They had campfires, and then they had a bunch of bakeries making French goods. So Henry Clinton is like, shit, do you smell all that French bakery? There's about to be a Franco-American-led charge against us. We better, fucking be poised to defend ourselves. Look how they're poised to invade. So we better be poised. Look at their poise. We're going to poise. Everybody's fainting. But instead of Americans invading Henry Clinton, the British Redcoats on Staten Island, instead, George Washington snuck out the back. Evangelical Christianity is just radical Islam, only with the pork and beer. That damn George Washington is one sneaky ass motherfucking goddamn bastard, that goddamn son of a bitch. He went ahead and went around the back, started marching. It wasn't until September 22nd that Henry Clinton knew what had happened. George Washington is gone. No, he hasn't. I don't believe that. Yeah, he has. I swear, Henry Clinton, he's gone. I don't believe you. Yeah, I swear, why would I lie to you? I'm not making shit up. I'm not making this up. So, the Battle of Cowpens. The perfect battle is going to happen on January 17th, 1781 near the town of Cowpens, South Carolina. American Patriot forces estimated at 2,000 militia and regulars under Brigadier General Daniel Morgan. This is known as the most perfect battle, the Battle of Cowpens. Daniel Morgan faced 1,000 British troops under Lieutenant Colonel Banastre Tarleton. Fucking Tarleton. Give him a Tarleton quarter. Nathaniel Greene says, we fight, we get beaten, we get back up, and then we fight again. And that was at the Battle of Guilford Courthouse, March 1871. So the Battle of Guilford Courthouse was a victory for us. The Battle of Cowpens was a victory for us. But we've been getting our asses kicked. We're going to get our asses kicked even more during the summer of 1781. But then we're going to be victorious. October 19th, 1781. That's the only battle we needed. One decisive battle. We lost after loss after loss. George Washington lost 90% of his goddamn battles. But when it came to Yorktown, when it came to smashing them in a decisive battle, he stood up and he was there. And we got our freedom. This is incredible. We're the guerrillas and we're barely fucking surviving. Hell, if you're a damn citizen, we're going to be really shitty to the loyalists. Yeah, you fucking Americans, you're going to suck King fucking George's dick. Hey, how about we just suck King George's dick? Hang that motherfucker up. No, string that motherfucker up. That son of a bitch. Fucking flay him, quarter him, chop him up in a bunch of pieces, send his damn quarters to the four corners of the world. So the summer of 1781, the French and American armies were united north of New York City. When word of de Grasse's decision had arrived, both armies began moving south toward Virginia. Engaging in tactics of deception to lead the British to begin a siege of New York was planned. De Grasse arrived at the Chesapeake Bay at the end of August, bringing additional troops and creating a naval blockade. There was a naval blockade thanks to de Grasse. The siege and subsequent surrender of General Charles Cornwallis to General George Washington and the French fleet during the American Revolutionary War on October 19th, 1781. Although the war would last for another year or two or three, this British, even War of 1812, we're still fighting them bastards. Why are we friends with the fucking British? This British defeat at Yorktown effectively ended the war in North America. October 10th, 1781, American and French troops had destroyed a large house in Yorktown, Virginia, believing that it was the location of the British General Charles Cornwallis. What a name, Cornwallis. So we're going to talk more about this. Cornwallis was given confusing orders by his superior, plus he just wanted to take and take some more. He was ordered to build a defensive deep water port, which he began to do in Yorktown. Cornwallis's movement in Virginia were shadowed by a Continental Army force led by the Major General Marquis de Lafayette. Good old Pee Wee Gilbert McGee. You know, the Marquis de Lafayette's first name is Gilbert. Washington instructed the Marquis de Lafayette, who was in Virginia, an American army of around 5,000 men, to block Cornwallis's escape from Yorktown by land. In the meantime, Washington's 2,500 troops in New York were joined by a French army of 4,000 men under Count de Rochambeau. Washington and Rochambeau made plans to attack Cornwallis with the assistance of a large French fleet under the command of Count Comte de Grasse. And then on August 21st, they crossed the Hudson River to march south to Yorktown, and they covered 200 miles in 15 days. 200 miles in 15 days. The Allied force is going to reach the head of the Chesapeake Bay in early September. Benedict Arnold had his troops taken away from him by Cornwallis, and then he just flees northward. He flees northward. Now, there's articles of capitulation, there's battles, there's stabbings, there's the Ansbachs. Don't tell me you don't know about the Ansbachs. More coming up.